Good evening. Welcome to SW6 Essential. Joe Sansom, how are you?
I'm all right. It's raining. It's pouring. Fulham are boring. Let's go.
That's brilliant. We've sort of put our heads together and we didn't really know what to say for a title. So we've gone with Director of Hoofball, which sort of leans into Tony Khan. And yeah, he's been again in the headlines and we can maybe get onto it a little bit. And of course, Hoofball, we're playing Burnley next. And of course, no disrespect to Burnley, they are flying high. And well, actually, they're not flying high as such. If we win, we're only 6 points behind them. But you would imagine that we're probably going to go down now, Joe.
Yeah, it's really annoying because fine margins this season have cost us, but then we're not even close at the moment. We're not in contention. We're going down with a bit of a whimper as it stands, and of course, there's still a chance that if we won all four of our games, we could stay up. But even that is banking on other teams having quite poor results. So it's really looking unlikely. Me and yourself have bigged up this squad at times this season. And at times, I think we were right to. At times, maybe we overstepped the mark and we gave them possibly too much praise. But overall, I think we've had a good team and we've been let down by a combination of horrendous finishing, off the field issues, slow start, just almost bottling it over the last month or so, to be completely honest, mentality wise. And if you've got a combination of one or two of those things, you'll struggle. But with all of them, I think relegation is always likely. So it's going to be a struggle. Like you said, if we win this game, we're 6 points off Burnley, and instantly a bit of pressure goes back to them because they're not guaranteed safe. They've still got to play Liverpool. They've still got to play Leeds, who are always a tough nut to crack, as we found out twice this season. So, anything can still happen, but we're asking for a lot of things to fall in our favour now to even have a chance. And like you said, I respect Burnley. We say hoofball, that's when everyone brands it. But I mean, I think at times this season, I think we could have used a bit of that with Mitrovic up front. The percentage balls, you know what you're going to get, hard to play against, and playing to your strengths. And that's what they do brilliantly. And we had a tough game there in February, ended in a draw when we possibly didn't deserve anything. I don't really care what the performance is like now. I want to win, to just be in contention, to just see us win a game, because it's been so awful lately, not having anything to cheer about. Even the Arsenal game where we got a draw, it was doom and gloom because of the way we threw it away. So it's just one of these things, Jack. We need a bit of luck on our side.
Yeah, I mean, all season, a lot of results have not gone our way, and people will say focus on your own results and things will fall your way. But sometimes every team needs that little bit of luck, and we've had a bit. But I think every team has a bit. But the majority of, Wolverhampton Wanderers have just been no favours to us at all this season. What to really talk about today? I mean, a 2-0 loss against Chelsea. The game was pretty much over at 50 minutes. It was a very, very disappointing display. And Scott Parker comes out with a quite extraordinary post-match interview. I understand. Have you watched it?
Yeah, I have.
I just want to ask your thoughts on it, because he seemed adamant that we're still alive and we can win all 4 games. And I don't know whether he's lying to himself, but it's nice to hear. And of course, I was bigging him up last week because of the Fulham fix, and now 48 hours later it was all a bit like flat as a pancake. Joe?
I mean, to be completely honest with you, if there's one person I expect to still believe we can get out of it, it's our manager, because quite simply, the season's not over. We're not mathematically relegated. But until we are, I want the mentality to be that we can get out of this, because if we go and win these 4 games, if we don't go and win these 4 games and we see that it would have got us to safety, we'll be kicking ourselves over so many moments this season. But we've still got a chance to change things. I want the players and the manager to believe we can still do it. But obviously, the sane part of me is thinking, listening to that interview and wondering if I watched a different game, because he was basically saying, if you haven't seen it, that if we play like that, he expects us to be able to win games. And I completely disagree. I thought we were very good for 5 minutes on on Saturday when we started the game. I thought we started the game very well. I thought we started it with intensity, not clear-cut chances, but bodies in the box, balls into the box, aggression, pressing them high, winning the ball back high up the pitch. I loved it. And after that 5 minutes, something happened, and I think it was a confidence thing. I've seen people say in terms of effort. I'm not sure it's effort. I think it's confidence, because I think those two sort of interlink at times.
Yeah.
And we've also got to remember we were playing a very good team. I don't like Chelsea, but you've almost got to respect the team they've got currently is very good. And yeah, so I disagree with a lot of what Parker said, but at the same time, I like to hear that he's thinking that we can win these 4 games, because of course that's what we all want. What I disagree with is that it was a good performance. I don't agree with that at all. I thought it was very passive from the team and from him. I was very open on Twitter with the fact that I was disappointed with his game management. You know, it's a game we had to get something from, in my opinion. 2-0 down early in the second half, and we took it till about 80 minutes to make a change. And even then, it took a while for Mitrovic to get on. And it's, you know, a like-for-like change, Madger off, Mitrovic on. So I think what annoyed me about the interview was that I thought there were parts that weren't true. What I liked about the interview is that he does still believe, because if our players and managers still believe, then of course there's still a slim chance we could do it. But we have to win minimum 3 games. Realistically, we've got to win 4, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, I said to you last week that we can't afford to lose another game this season. And, you know, you could talk about the touch from Mason Mount, fantastic, and sets up the goal for Havertz. It was a very, very, what looked like a simple goal, but when you actually break it down, the touch from Mount really does completely make the move, and it was a good finish. So, obviously, Mitrovic coming on only 10 minutes to go. I really thought he should have got some more minutes, and there's a lot of talk now on Twitter about next season Mitrovic. I was in the club store today talking with one of the guys who works there, just about the whole situation. We're just not really sure what's going to happen with Alexander Mitrovic. One positive, one negative I'm going to take from this from the Chelsea game. Well, a lot of negatives, obviously. Zambo Anguissa. I was really, really frustrated with him. Gave the ball away numerous times, looked disinterested. And at times he had the ball and he was okay in parts, but very, very frustrating. Very much like a player we saw last time out in the Premier League when we saw him, and just someone who, when you're in a fight, you know, I would have killed to have Harrison Reed in there instead of Zambo Anguissa, which is a shame because I've sung his praises all season, Joe. And of course, then the positive is Fabio Carvalho, who really exciting, comes on off the bench with Josh Onuma. A really big statement that from Parker to bring on a youngster. And yeah, the kid did all right. He did good, and I think that he'll be a big part for us next season. I'm really excited about this player, Joe.
Yeah, me too. And I just hope that he isn't just on the bench because Loftus-Cheek was out of the squad and there was a spare space. Because I want to see some youth players involved between now and the end of the season. We've got nothing to lose now. We have to go at games, and we've got these brilliant youth players that are doing fantastically well for the under-18s. Under-23s maybe haven't had such a great season as a collective, but individually, Carvalho's been great, Jasper's been great, Thierry's been great, you know, all these players, and Francois as well, of course. It's one of these things. I want to see them integrated with the team, because next season we might need a few of these players in the Championship. In fact, I think we definitely will. And furthermore, if we are mathematically relegated soon, which could happen, then playing lone players almost becomes void. It becomes quite a pointless exercise, because then, as Tony Khan famously said, we are just developing other teams' players. There is literally no benefit to us other than maybe getting, Loftus-Cheek maybe grabbing a goal, Anderson maybe grabbing a clean sheet. Fine for the game, but that game has no impact on this club, whereas these players will have a future for us. And so that's why I hope that no matter what, Burnley, yeah, of course it's a must-win game, but on the bench, I want to see Carvalho. On the bench, I want to see these players. I don't want to see 3 centre-backs, because we're not going to be bringing them on. We need to win this game. If we're bringing on a centre-back, unless it's, I don't know, 1-0 in the 95th minute, then I don't really understand it.
Yeah, completely. And I remember that bench we put out at Huddersfield away in that 1-0 loss in 18-19, which was like ridiculous. It was like 4 or 5 defenders, then Donald Johansson, and then I think one attacker in Abu Kamara. And I tell you what, that was something to be desired. I mean, it was unbelievable. The news broke today that there'll be no away fans at Old Trafford, despite rumours there was going to be 500, which is a bit of a shame because we would have liked an away trip to end the season, albeit we would have already been down at maybe that point. Okay, well, we'll have to talk about the elephant in the room, and it's part of the title. There are murmurs, there are rumours, there are certainly people who are for a protest. I mean, after the unbelievable protest on Sunday with Manchester United, I doubt that the Fulham v Burnley game is going to get postponed on Monday night. But what I will say is that fair play to Manchester United fans. They did what they needed to do. I think some maybe took it over the top, but you do get that in those situations, Joe. Let's ask you now, what's going to happen? And what do you think about this situation? Because of course the article came out literally about an hour ago, and we've been talking about whether to talk about that. I just want your thoughts on the whole situation because again, it's a bit of a circus.
Yeah, so I understand why people want to protest, but I've got to be honest, I'm not sure in this situation what it would achieve. I can't see Tony Khan stepping down. My problem with Tony Khan is the refusal to admit that he's made mistakes, pretty much, because it's 2 relegations now, one already done and one almost certain at this stage, both under his watch. And for both of them, he's, depending on your viewpoint, either partly or entirely responsible. In my opinion, it's partly. I don't think he can take the sole blame, but I think he can take a large chunk of it due to the way that, not even just this season, but he's built our squad. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's positive. And it all sort of comes back to the reliance on loans, which I understand. And I'm all for the loan market. I love some of the players that have been brought in this season. And we wouldn't have been able to tempt these players if it wasn't on loan, in my opinion. We wouldn't have been able to afford them, for one. Would they have come as another thing on a permanent deal? We don't know. But in terms of building the squad now, if we get relegated, the loan players go. We knew that was always a risk, and that's fine. But because there's so many of them, and so many permanent players have been binned off in place of them, I think that squad harmony is a big issue, and it's something we've already faced once under his reign. And this is what I mean about not understanding the mistakes. So I get why people want to protest. In this instance, I've seen a few people that disagree with the protest, and because of this, I almost feel like it's not worth doing, because I think that if you're going to protest something like this, you need a completely united fan base for it to work. And right now, I'm not sure we have that. There's some people that blame Parker, there's some that blame Tony Khan, and there's some like me that blame a combination of both and the players for what's happened. So it's a weird one. I don't see Tony Khan not being our director of football next season. I can't see a situation where that happens under Shahid Khan's ownership. I think they come as a package, and I like Shahid Khan, but at the same time, I think, he's got to now look at things and say, that's 3 relegations under my watch. One of them, I actually disagree that it was his fault. The first one in 13-14, I think that Al Fayed left a team that was declining without significant investment for a while. Did he help with the chopping and changing of managers during that season? No, but I think he panicked. So I think that Shahid Khan's now got to look at things and go, well, what can I change? And one thing he can change is the director of football.
Yeah, I think the 13-14 was down to naiveness or naivety. That's not a word. Naivety from Shahid Khan, just thinking, oh, we'll get someone in new and everything will be okay. And a lot of people think that in football, and sometimes it's just not the case. Squad harmony was something I picked up from what you said, and that's really interesting. And I think one man who will try and keep the squad harmony if we go down is Scott Parker. And there's this whole now debate about whether we sack him and get someone new in. I mean, Eddie Howe's been touted. I'm not really sure, Joe, but look, the protest has to make a difference, and I don't think that, well, from what I've seen on Twitter, there'll be enough people there to make a difference, to make a stand, to get people sitting up and listening. I'm torn because I am Tony Khan out, but I just don't know if this is the right way to go about it, Joe. And we'll see on Monday night what happens, whether it gets any TV coverage, any media coverage. I hope that things go well. It doesn't get too toxic down there. But I think, I don't know. I would be fully behind it if everyone was like, right, we're going to go down and we're going to do it. But so far, I've seen more people mock it than support it, which is not what you're going to see at Manchester United with the Glazers. Not what you're going to see at Arsenal with Kroenke. And what I feel is that Fulham fans have seen what's happened on Sunday and go, oh yeah, we can do that, or we can stand on Stevenage Road and do that. And I'm just thinking, we're not a massive club in terms of a fan base. I'm not poo-pooing our club at all, and our fan base. I'm just saying that the volume of numbers that's there to really make a difference, I don't think will change much. And Tony Khan is too arrogant. He won't step down because people tell him to step down. He said he'll die at the club. Go to hell. Back in 1819. I mean, this guy's going to be very hard to shift unless the Khans were to make a drastic move themselves. And I'm not sure whether a protest. I mean, you know what? I could be wrong. I could get told off, but by people who really believe in this. But that's my opinion, and I'm on board with you guys. I want Tony Khan gone as a director of football, but I share your views, Joe. I don't think it's going to happen in the near future.
Yeah, it's a shame because I honestly feel that what needs to happen now is, relegation or not, there needs to be a rebuild in terms of how we do things, because the model that we've used doesn't work in terms of, in the Championship, loan to buy deals, promoted, sign lots of loan players with the option to buy if we stay up, because then when we don't stay up, we're screwed. And this season, I thought it was going to work. I thought that the recruitment that we did was very good. And this is one thing that I'm not saying. I am not saying that the players that Tony Khan has brought in are not good players. I think Anderson's fantastic. Love Areola. Reed on a permanent deal. Robinson, I do feel, is an upgrade at left back. Tete, I think, is a great right back. These are just a few examples. But my problems are, he's brought in 2 right backs when we already had 2 right backs last season, one of which is a youth product in Tete permanently, which I think is a fantastic signing and an upgrade we did need.
Good player, yeah.
He's then brought in Aina, who is a utility player. Also really like Aina, and he's very useful. He's a Premier League Dennis Odoi, and I think he's great. But what does that say to these other players like Cyrus Christie and Joe Bryan even? Robinson was suspended and Bobby Reed was played at left wing back instead of Joe Bryan. And then Aina moved across to that side before Joe Bryan got subbed on at Brighton. And it's just, these are the things, I know these are Scott Parker's decisions, but by bringing in these players, you're effectively just shoving to the side the permanent players that we are going to rely on next season. And it's fine if we stay up. I mean, it's not fine for these players. I still think it's quite ruthless. Football is a ruthless game, obviously, but I do feel that some of these players didn't get the full chance they deserved last time round and haven't got it this time either. I don't want to constantly just say it's all Tony's fault, but then you also look at the forwards situation and the fact that it took until deadline day for us to sign a striker, and that striker was available for the whole window. He wasn't playing for Bordeaux. Nothing changed at all from the 1st of January to whenever it was in February, when the deadline, early February, just before the Leicester game. And there was no reason for us to wait. There was no reason for Bordeaux to wait. And it just doesn't make sense to me. And I think that the way he's dealt with situations this season that have been big situations, waiting for centre-backs, waiting for strikers, has cost us. And the way that he builds his squads has cost us, because the players are great. The squad, as a squad, is not.
And to argue it, he would say, "Oh, we signed Madger on deadline day to get the best deal for him," and sadly, that's like, fine, but I don't really buy it, because I was going to say something. In the summer, the same thing happened. We signed these players, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, quite late to get the best deals, and yeah, that was it. Sorry, he doesn't take responsibility. You know, he said, we questioned him after the Villa game. Why? And he said, well, because of COVID. And two of the players we wanted to sign got COVID. Tony, like, just say I got it wrong and I made a mistake, or he says he was unlucky. Fair enough, he might have been unlucky, but there's been more than one situation where things have not worked out and he's passed the buck, and I don't think that's acceptable. And this is it. This is what I tweeted about a couple of hours ago. He's a director of football and he's writing scripts for wrestling. Come on. Writing scripts for wrestling, AEW, which is very successful in America, and even the Jaguars, who aren't doing very well at all in America as well. It's very. I mean, you look at Norwich; they have an unbelievable director of football in Stuart Webber, who literally sat down with TNC, talked to them about it, and I know Tony Khan sat down with Fulhamish a couple of years ago, beginning of last season. But there's more transparency there from Webber, and look where Norwich are now. They're in a good position. I genuinely feel like they could possibly stay up, but if they get the right additions in, Joe, I'm at a loss, and I think that Parker might have just had enough of upstairs. I think Jokanovic definitely had enough of upstairs during his tenure. And for us to grow and develop as a club, which I really thought we'd do this season, I really thought this was our time where we're going to stay up and go on to big things or better things. I think that nothing's really going to change unless we get a guy who really, really thinks so much about himself and his arrogance. You know, just going to completely overshadow and undermine everyone who's trying to work for the club. Scott Parker, Matt Wells, and the whole squad. And my final point is Joe Bryan. We haven't really talked about this guy enough this season because he hasn't played. He's literally the guy who scored the 2 goals to take us to the Premier League. And the guy hasn't even got a look in this season, apart from the cup game at QPR and a couple of performances off the bench. I mean, it's so harsh. It's so harsh. Aina has been great. Robinson's been a good upgrade. But Bryan, I think, you know, what's he going to be thinking? You know, if Bristol City come knocking again next season under Nigel Pearson, look, come back to Bristol, you'll be a first teamer, and you can really help us in what we want to have as a promotion push, or any of the championship teams. I think he'd be very, very tempted. It's just a massive shame the way that things have fallen into place, Joe, and I'm sorry I've gone on a little ramble there, but I am unhappy with the way the club is being run at the moment.
Yeah, and the thing is, you say about Joe Bryan, I completely agree, is that you and me are both in agreement at the same time that Joe Bryan is not Premier League quality.
Okay.
Start of the season, when he was playing before Robinson was sort of embedded in the team, he looked poor. And I know that at that point he was playing with a poorer team around him. He was playing next to Tim Ream rather than Anderson. But he did look poor. But my problem is that this now is not even on Tony Khan. This is on Parker lately. Bryan probably our best crosser of the ball. And in games where Mitrovic was in the box dying for service, didn't even bring him on. And that I think is poor. Because this is what I mean, where if you've got a combination where the director of football has built quite a lopsided squad in terms of overflowing with loans that are mostly quality players and a lot of permanent players that don't get a look in, most of which are championship level, and you've got a manager that, in my opinion, has maybe not utilised the squad in an attacking sense from the best of his ability, and you've got players that are also underperforming up front, you've got a combination for disaster, really. Well, you've got a combination for relegation, because we don't create enough chances. We don't score enough goals. We were creating enough chances. at some points this season, but lately I think that's changed, and I don't know what's changed, because it used to be a case of, we're not taking our chances, getting a striker in January and we'll suddenly take them. But since maybe March, we barely created anything, and that's really worrying to me. I mean, there's a lot of nice passing around the box, but there's no penetration, there's no drive for most of games, and this is one of my problems with Fulham last season. I thought that we were often bailed out by a moment of individual brilliance. I mean, the last few goals we've scored, I wouldn't say it's brilliance, I'd say it's luck. I mean, the Mitrovic goal against Villa, yes, he was in the right place, but that was luck. We didn't create anything to score a goal in that game. Arsenal game, we scored from a penalty decision. Again, for the rest of that game, like you said last week, didn't create anything.
VAR, yeah.
And this is what worries me, is that, yes, I think that we are good enough to win 3 more games this season, but at the same time, I'm not sure if we're going to score 3 goals for the rest of this season. And so I know there's been a bit of a doom and gloom episode, but I really feel that with just a few changes at the club in terms of how we're run, a model that we stick to in terms of this is how we're going to sign players, this is the route to the first team. And if we get back up to the Premier League, you know what? Rodak, you've earned your place in goal. Completely accept that Areola is a far superior goalkeeper at this time, by the way. But I don't think it's sustainable to put Rodak in for the Championship, get promoted, and then replace them every time. Of course, when we go up, you have to make a few quality additions. You won't cut it. The gap between the Premier League and Championship is massive, but it's how you do it. And for the second time, I think hindsight's a wonderful thing, obviously, but the players, I've never disputed. The quality is there. But the way we've gone about it, the timing of it, the positions we went for, we've got it wrong again.
Let's not even kid ourselves. Marek Rodak is still a young goalkeeper. He's still sort of up and coming. And genuinely, we go back down to the Championship next season, I think he's one of the best keepers in the league with Sam Johnson, unless he moves to Spurs, which has been rumoured at the moment. Rodak's a fantastic keeper and can be Premier League quality. And I'm pretty sure will be Premier League quality, getting to the peak of his career. And we played him in that first game against Arsenal, and of course, didn't go well. We brought in Areola. He's basically played ever since. But it's just the same. I mean, we went up and we played Fabry, and then we played Bettinelli, and then we just played Rico for the rest of the season. There's just no plan. There's no and that comes down from signings, because the signings then will overshadow what the team's going to be, and then it's the team selection itself. The key question for I need to ask you now is what Scott Parker, is he in or is he out for next season? Because I'm worried, because last season Birmingham City at home created nothing, and then that bit of quality from Reed to get the ball and plays to Onumar, and then at Onumar in the playoffs, bit of quality we needed, Cabano free kick, Joe Bryan free kick, and then the goal on the counter-attack because Brentford were putting men forward. I mean, I think we earned our place in the Premier League overall. We played some great football at times in the league, but we came 4th. We weren't very convincing at all. Leeds, we got dismantled. Brentford looked like they were going to win the game, and they did win the game in the closing minutes after lockdown. So Scott Parker, I think he's got better as a manager this year. He's learned a lot, and that's the problem. He's learning on the job, which is always a risk, but also can be a huge reward. And is it also sort of like a Frank Lampard situation, again, learning on the job, and then it can really backfire and he gets fired? And I'm not sure where Parker stands at the moment, whether he'll want to stay or whether he actually will stay in terms of the Khans will sack him and try and get someone in new. But I generally can't think of a name right now who's going to come in and deliver what we need next season, which is a promotion and hopefully a top 2 push and finish, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest. At times, last season, I was very vocal about it, but times lately, Parker's really frustrated me.
Okay.
And I don't think he's used the squad to the best of his abilities in an attacking sense. I think defensively, him and his staff sorted us out. And I know that's partly due to an increased amount of quality. For example, I know that Parker wouldn't have worked wonders with Tim Ream and Hector partnership. Anderson and Tosin are just a class above that. But I think that we should stick with Parker for the time being, and my reason for that is, one, continuity. I don't think we've had much, and I think that a lot of the players really heavily respect and like Scott Parker and the coaching staff that he has built. He's now got a whole team, but next season is the Championship. He's already had one full season of the Championship. There's no excuses. He knows what to expect. And I want to see more than we saw last time. I want to see better football. I want to see an attacking plan, because our squad, unless there's a complete overhaul, and even then, will be one of the best 6 squads in the Championship, possibly the best 2, depending on who goes down with us and who leaves. And I just think it's a real time for him to show what he can do, because mentality-wise, I think that he's changed the club around. It was a losing mentality. It was very dark. Even now, it's nowhere near as bad as it was 2 years ago going down. We were going down with a really disgruntled team. And although there will be parts of that he has to rebuild again, I think we've got a spine, if we can hang on to them, of Tosin, of Reed, of Mitrovic if he stays. We've got Onoma, Bobby Reed. We've got Tete if he stays. Robinson. There's a good group of players there that can play in the Premier League as well as the Championship. And I think he's got the tools at his disposal. I'm sure we will spend in the window as well, as we always seem to do. And if Tony Khan's in charge, I'm sure there'll be another deadline day stream full of fun and games. But I think that this is really where we see what Parker's made of. Can he get us back up again? Because the moments that really counted last season, he got us motivated. Playoffs, we were fantastic. Final, I thought we were brilliant. And can he get that out of the team for a full season? If he can, then I think that he's still the right man for the job. But I want to see an attacking plan, because this season I haven't seen one. And I know that for some of the reason for that is poor finishing when we have created chances. But lately I've seen a lack of chances created, and that's what worries me.
Yeah, I think spot on with what you said. I definitely want to stick with Parker, because I feel he's got the potential to grow, to get us back up. And, he has produced some fantastic performances this season and results. I know it hasn't gone well recently, but Liverpool away, fantastic. Leicester away, fantastic. Everton away, marvellous win. I've identified my top target for the summer to sign, and that's someone we've talked about quite a lot recently, in Stariki Dembele, who, of course, went up with Peterborough on the weekend in dramatic style, and it was never a penalty, but that's by the by. There was rumours that we went in for him in January, and they said wait until the summer. But I really feel like this guy could be a huge difference for us. Fantastic attacking player, can contribute with assists and goals. My next question to you, Joe, is, whilst you were speaking there, I was taking it all in. I was thinking, yes, I'm fully behind this, but are we asking for too much?
In terms of Parker?
Like, just in terms of, are we asking for too much? In we've got to be this top 2 team. We've got to be straight back. Are we unrealistic in our expectations with Parker, with the squad, and with the director of football and everyone that's around the club? Are we asking?
Yeah, I feel that last time, many people, including myself, were a bit harsh in terms of top 2. Why are we going for top 6? It has to be top 2. Our squad's amazing. In hindsight, Knockout was crap. Mawson was injured. Brighton was defensively ropey. There were so many different parts of it, and our squad probably wasn't one of the best 2 in the division, in my opinion. Now, looking back, I think Brentford's was better. I think West Brom's was better, and Leeds' was obviously with Bielsa a class above the rest. So this time round, I don't see that currently, and that's why I don't think it's asking for too much. Do I necessarily want to bounce straight back? That I'm not so sure of, because I would much rather spend a few years in the Championship. And obviously, I'm looking at this just now. I don't like the Championship. I want to be playing the best teams with the best players at Fulham. But looking at it in more of a long-term way, I would 100% take a few years in the Championship if it guaranteed that when we went up, we were ready. We went up both seasons as the worst team in the league, if you will, in terms of the playoff team, not the best squad, the most to do in the transfer market. If you look at what Norwich have done by bouncing straight back, great. They've been up for a while already. They've got months to prepare. They can sign players if they want. I know we both think that they could end up getting 2 points next season, but they could also surprise everyone and do what Leeds have done this season, which is brilliant. They take their attacking football and they stick with it, and it works. And fair play to them. It's all about a balance. We basically need to have a team that is Premier League quality in the Championship.
We said
we've
this
spoken
last
about
week.
this before. Yeah, it's really hard to do, and it's really hard to build. And I don't envy the people who've got to do it. But Leeds have gone up. They've made a couple of additions, and they were ready. And you've had that with numerous teams over the years. We went up this season with a Championship team, rebuilt it all on deadline day and in the weeks up to that, and then have basically played 3/4 of the season with now a Premier League team, and that's not going to help. So maybe we are asking a little bit too much. But in terms of looking at the season individually, is our squad one of the best in the league next season? At this point, before the transfer window opens, yes, of course it is. It's a Premier League squad. We've got parachute payments as well. There shouldn't really be too many excuses. But at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen over this summer. Loads of players might leave. The losing mentality, we've got to overcome that again. I don't think it will be as hard as last time, because I think that we've had a stronger mentality this time round. But we're asking for enough, in my opinion. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for promotion when you're in our position, especially if you look at, over the last few years, what the teams that have dropped down have done in ourselves, Norwich, Watford. It can be done. And Bournemouth might make it 3 down, 3 back up in a few weeks.
I found that really fascinating, what you said about that you wouldn't mind staying in the Championship until we're ready. My argument to that is that we thought when we went up under Jokanovic, we were ready. 4 years in the Championship, and we didn't go up the year before, and we thought that's okay. It was difficult, and we had it was a season where we changed a lot of things. We did very well, but we just missed out. And obviously it was heartbreaking at the time, but in hindsight, fantastic, because the next season we went up, and obviously on December we were thinking, Jokanovic out, this is awful, and then suddenly 23 unbeaten, and we're at Wembley celebrating TC and his wonderful goal. It's interesting. I mean, obviously, everyone will say straight back up. I want to go straight back up.
Yeah, I just want to clarify as well that if, like, when it actually gets to the season starting in the Championship, I want it to be our only season in the Championship. You know what I mean? I want to be back up, of course.
No, but I get your point. I honestly understand it. Being ready to go up and stuff. I completely get it. What I will take from that is, what I feel like for next season is, I think the top 2 in terms of the favourites will be us and West Brom, just on the face of it. And then Sheffield United, I mean, I don't know what's happening. Lundstrom might leave. They don't have Chris Wilder. So all those players who are playing and buying into that system, depending on who they bring in, which could be Slavisa Jokanovic, of course, you have no idea. And I would put them to be like a Bournemouth, struggle at the start, but they might just pop into the playoffs, depending on what happens. And then you've got obviously 3 out of Swansea, Bournemouth, and Barnsley and Brentford who are going to be there as well. And I've talked about this last week, but each week is going to be closer to a new season when we start talking about the new season. And I think we can win the league. I really believe it. But it's down to the summer, and it's got to be an important and successful summer.
If we do go up next season, I want it to be top 2. I want to be automatically promoted as the best or the second best team in the league. Obviously, ideally win the league, but instantly with that, you've got more time than whoever's in the playoffs. And there's no excuse. There's no excuse of why we're doing business late. There's nothing. We should be thinking this summer in terms of, if we do bring players in, like you said about Dembele, either who are promising players that we can bring in, or who are Premier League ready players, like Reed. When we brought him in, Reed was maybe a bit lucky in terms of our recruitment. Obviously, they might have thought, yes, this guy could play in the Premier League as well. I didn't expect it. I didn't even think he was going to be a starter for us when we brought him in. I thought he was a backup defensive midfielder behind Arta and McDonald and everyone like that. I mean, I honestly, I didn't expect it, and he's been absolutely fantastic. And if we can pull off a few deals like that under the noses of Premier League teams, we can hang on to our core assets. I think then we've got a great chance, because, I feel that some players will leave. And Guisa, I think if we go down, will leave, and I think we can get quite a lot of money. Will Mitrovic go? We don't know. That's opening a bit of a can of worms. We don't know what the situation with Parker is. But I think we'll have enough money to be able to recruit a few players. It just needs to be one or two extra that can make that step up. There's free transfers we can look at. I mean, if you look at, I think two great examples are Burnley, and I guess it's linked to, we haven't really talked about them much, but we're playing them next Monday. Their squad is very average in terms of, there's not many players that I look at there. There's obviously a few very quality players, but there's a few that I just think, I wouldn't be surprised, Matthew Loughton, would he be out of place in the Championship? Probably not. But he does a great job in the Premier League, and he's brought into the system, and he does a good job at right back for them. And it's these sorts of players that need to be ready to make the step up. And that's why it's so important that we can hang on to as many of our Premier League ready players as we can and build a base around them. Because when we went up this time, I mean, who did we have that actually starts for us and is Premier League quality now? Reed? Is that it? I guess so.
It's a big summer ahead, honestly, and we're talking in terms of what we're going to go down. We could still stay up. Just never know. Joe, let's move on to Monday night then. Let's give you a score prediction. We could talk about teams all we want, really, but I mean, it doesn't really make a difference to anything, does it?
No, it doesn't really to me. And you know what? I'm going to say that we're going to win this one, and I'm not saying that with my head. I'm saying that with my heart. Because I think that Burnley are tough, and they'll basically know that a point or more, but a point minimum secures them safety, because I don't think we'll be able to catch them if we don't win. So, I'll go for 2-1 purely because we have to win, and I'd like to see a team that knows they have to win.
I think if someone gave me £100, a free £100 bet to put on a correct score, I'd put 0-0.
Yeah.
I just don't see there being goals. But I'm going to back a Fulham 1-0 in terms of my heart. My head says 0-0. I was actually going to make a final point about Norwich, and Norwich are in a really good position right now because they've basically known they were going to get promoted for so long, because they were just far and away the best team and they were going to get top two regardless. So they probably had so long to plan for next season. What happens with Aaron's, Buendia, and then obviously recruitment. And I really hope we're in a position this time next year where we're guaranteed, or not guaranteed, but top two, like we're on for it in like March or something, and then we could really get ready, and that's a real test of what the recruitment can do in that time. But Joe, we should probably leave it there. I mean, we've been talking for 42 minutes, and I think we're just very upset, and just because it just hasn't gone the way we would have wanted it to. A few weeks ago, we were really, really excited, and now it's kind of reality.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some good times this season, much better than last time round, but still, it looks like it's going to be the same end result, and that's what's so frustrating, because it's almost like back to square one. And I didn't have high expectations for this season. When I predicted 17th at the start of the season, I thought I was being very, very optimistic, because I didn't think we were great last season. And when I made that prediction, we hadn't recruited anyone, really. So it was always going to be tough, but that doesn't excuse from some of the things that have happened off the field, on the field, tactics. But, there's 4 games to go, and all that we can really ask for now is that they give it their all, because here's me being very optimistic, in that Leicester play Newcastle on Friday night.
Yeah.
Let's just say, and I know this will age terribly and Newcastle will win, but let's just say Leicester beat them, because that's a very tough game. And then we beat Burnley. It's 6 points.
Behind both.
Newcastle then play Man City. I believe Burnley play Leeds. I might be wrong. But they play them at some point, so let's just say Leeds. We play Southampton. Let's just say we win. It's 3 points with 2 games left. Elephant in the room is Newcastle have Sheffield United, and I think they'll get minimum a point in that. I think they'll win. But we could take it to the last day. And I think that now all we can ask is that we try and get into a position where we can do that. But to do that, we need to win 2 games minimum before then, probably 3. So I'm going to stick with the team until it's mathematically done. And even after that, I'll still be rooting for us, obviously. But it's not done yet. By the time we make the next video, it might be. We might mathematically be gone. So while it lasts, I'm going to enjoy the fact that we can still get out of it.
Monday Night Football. If you're going down to the cottage, be sensible, be respectful. don't run on the pitch. And I'm going to leave it there. I think Joe Sansom, it's been a good one.
Yeah, cheers, Jack. Enjoyed that. Weirdly.
Yeah, it's another therapy session. I am busting for the toilet, so I am going to end this here. Come on, Fulham. We'll see you Monday night. Hopefully, a Kearney screamer in the 90th minute. Thanks very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and we'll see you later.